We have the honor to guest Mr. Σλόμο Μπεν-Άμι, former Israeli foreign minister and vice president of the Toledo International Center for Peace. Mr. Bel-Ami, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is really always an honor to host you and to talk with you.
Thanks a lot.
In the meantime, since our last discussion, we have a lot of breaking news, we could say. First of all, we have the Board of Peace that Trump, President of the United States, created. In Davos, he presented it. The composition, the persons that are, and the countries that are in this Board of Peace, do they do you think are an optimistic aspect or not for the lack of the Board of Peace and for the lack of Gaza? Because first of all, it was created for Gaza, despite Mr. Trump has the ambition to expand it and to replace UN.
Yeah, well, I think that one can be reasonably expectant, reasonably optimistic. As I said, not with absolute certainty, but yes, there is a sense of high commitment by the president to try and get this 20-point plan that he has launched to make it work. Now, the Council of Peace is a grandiloquent initiative that is being boycotted by the main Western powers. It has become mainly the forum for secondary powers, those that are directly dependent on American support. But this is not that important, in my view, as far as Gaza is concerned. It is important in the sense that it neutralizes the ambition of Trump to create a substitute for the UN, say. Now, that this can't happen with these kind of participants. But yes, it still is important in order to get through the plan in Gaza. First, because of the commitment of Trump, he sees it as an introduction to a broader vision in the Middle East, which is based mainly on major infrastructures. He wants to create this link between India, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Israel. It's to compete with China on the issue of global infrastructures. At the same time, he understands that there is a big business here in Gaza, and for constructors, for contractors, and with Trump, you will always have the hidden agenda of possible business deals for him and his family or his entourage. Jared Kushner has already created a major investment fund with Saudi money that is investing even in Israeli high-tech. So this accompanies all foreign policy issues with Donald Trump. It's always, you need to look at the personal interest within it. And he has also been able to create an envelope of regional alliances that is quite impressive, one needs to admit. I mean, he has brought in Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Israel is not that happy with all of this because as far as Netanyahu is concerned, he would have liked to see Gaza being directly and exclusively controlled by Israel. This is his view, and this is also his political necessity, because he has this right-wing coalition that sees Gaza as part of greater Israel. Yes, so but he doesn't dare challenging Donald Trump. I mean, in that sense, Trump has a leverage on him. So I think that you see today that the first stage is over. all the hostages
Are back.
are back, alive or dead, and Israel now has agreed to open the Rafah crossing, which was again something that Netanyahu didn't want to do.
Yes.
Opening the Rafah crossing, he doesn't have a problem with opening the Rafah crossing on one direction, that is from Gaza to Egypt, but it is going to be open also from Egypt to Israel to Gaza,
Right.
which means that many Palestinians can come back home, and among them many Hamas guys who maybe left during the war, and because the control is not going to be Israeli. Normally, when Israel spoke about any kind of arrangement in Gaza or even in the West Bank, it made it clear that it wanted to control the access, the border. So the control will be in the hands of the European Union and maybe even the Palestinian Authority, something that Israel would not have direct control. So now I think that the next stage is on. It starts now. I trust that Israel will be adamant in not allowing the reconstruction of Gaza unless there are clear signals of Hamas disarmament. Hamas is not very happy with the idea of disarmament, but they have ideas. Hamas is willing to abandon everything that has to do with the administration, that the actual daily life of the population in Gaza, and let it for the technocratic government made up of Palestinian personalities. But they are getting ready for such a government by now implanting, putting their own people in the lower echelons of the administration. So there are many, many Hamas people that are now running the daily life of the Palestinians in Gaza, with the idea that Hamas has that the technocratic government will be a kind of ceiling, the roof, but Hamas will be controlling daily life through the people that they have put in place in the last month, since the end of the war, and they might even agree to some kind of disarmament. They will struggle about it. They will try to say, okay.
You say to some kind, not to a total.
Well, I think that they will try to see if they can keep defensive weapons and not offensive weapons. They will, but Israel will be here very strict, and I guess that also Donald Trump will go along if he wants the support of Netanyahu in this project, because Netanyahu is an expert in undermining projects that he doesn't like. So Trump will have to heed Netanyahu's warnings about disarmament if it is not convincing enough. But you see, the major objective that Hamas has is indeed to allow a Palestinian government that is not Hamas, so long as the personnel is what they have done already, and to try and join the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which is now essentially Fatah. It is Abu Mazen, it is Abbas. They have the dream of forming part of the PLO and at some point eventually to take it over, because they are the more dynamic part of the Palestinian national movement. They have fought a war for 2 years. They have released thousands of prisoners, which is a central ethos in the Palestinian national movement. All over the world, there are movements of support for Hamas. The sense is that Abbas and Fatah are declining, they are not popular, so they believe that they can take over the PLO. And in fact, as a result of the 7th October, win the war politically. They might have lost it militarily because they have been decimated, they have been destroyed, the political and military leadership was diminished. And so you can argue that militarily, okay, they got us a very, very serious setback. But you don't win wars in the battlefield. You win wars in politics. Eventually, it's the political result that matters. And if they can take over the PLO and become the embodiment of the Palestinian national movement, they have won the war. So this is where we stay right now.
So right now we have also the 15-member technocrats committee for Gaza, who was always appointed also by Donald Trump. Can it work independently by Trump? What do you think about this committee? And is this going to be a bridge to statehood or a substitute to it?
I think the question of statehood is going to be a utopia, frankly. I don't think that he needed to put a Palestinian state as the end objective of his plan in order to have the Arab world supporting the plan. I mean, you need some kind of horizon. But I think that he is clever enough to know that this end result is a utopia right now, and Israel would not accept it. The Israeli government would not accept it. Israel is going to have elections in less than a year, and if the right-wing coalition wins the day, what we will have is more or less the same policies. And even if the opposition wins, it will be a center-right coalition that will not be very friendly to the idea of Palestinian statehood. I think that he would now focus mainly on Gaza, less so on the West Bank and other issues, and use the reconstruction of Gaza or the peace in Gaza as a kind of leverage for broader objectives in the region, which is consolidating the Arab alliance and the major infrastructure projects that he dreams of. So imagine what kind of a business it is to reconstruct Gaza and to reconstruct Syria. The Turks, the Egyptians, they are all looking for the billions and billions of dollars. And of course, also friends of Donald Trump, they are looking for the big business there. And even Israeli companies would like to form part of this bonanza. So I think, in my view, this is where the horizon of Trump ends. He doesn't think in terms of Palestinian state and the troubles that it means in terms of what are the conditions, whether the Palestinians would accept this or that condition, and Israel. That's something that he will try to avoid, at least in the short run.
So there is a conflict of interests between USA and Israel about Gaza. So who will prevail finally? And if, let's assume that everything goes well, Hamas, Islamic Jihad are disarmed and the technocratic administration is installed and everything goes well, then Israel will accept all the procedure. I mean, will withdraw from the remaining 55% of the land of Gaza Strip that is currently occupied. Will allow the heavy excavators to be transported, will allow the reconstruction of the Gaza port and the Gaza airport, for example, because they are very basic to move on.
No, I think that, again, everything that is happening is not part of the vision of the current Israeli government. This is clear. They would have liked it differently. But they have Trump, and they depend to a large extent on his goodwill, on many other issues as well, on the issue of Iran, for example, and therefore if indeed Hamas is convincingly disarmed, it will be extremely difficult for Netanyahu to resist the pressure for withdrawing totally from the Gaza Strip and maybe maintain the control on a perimeter. You know, the perimeter is the idea of having, say, 500 meters or so within Gaza as a defensive belt around the strip. But in principle, I think that if Hamas is convincingly disarmed, it will be extremely difficult for Israel to resist the pressure to withdraw from that 55%. So he hopes, by the way, Netanyahu and his coalition, and maybe even some in the army, hope that Hamas will not disarm, so which will give legitimacy for Israel to do it itself.
So which role should Israel play, if any, in Gaza's post-war governance?
Can you repeat it?
Yes. Which should be the role of Israel then? You believe that should be the post-war role in Gaza Strip?
Well, the post-war to be there isn't much of a role, because what the American administration says is that Gaza is our business, not Israel's business. They already said it, that they know that Israel has signed on the 20-point plan, which says that you need to create this technocratic government, and the Rafah needs to be opened, and the Hamas needs to be disarmed. So if all of this happens, Israel, the only thing that can do is continuing protecting its the border. It doesn't have. It's not part of the. Israel is not part of the daily running of Gaza.
So we expect the technocrat committee to take over, and then to give the power to the Palestinian principle. Then this is the procedure we're waiting to be on since things are going well.
Yeah, that's in principle, but I say, you know, some of us who have gone through processes of this kind with the Palestinians, and it is always a process that opens the door to another stage and another stage. We have a very bad experience of these kind of things, because sometime at some point in the middle, things got derailed, things got stopped because either one of the parties doesn't comply, or something happens, and this is where the Netanyahu coalition hopes that something will go wrong, and they can say then to Trump and to the international community, okay, didn't we tell you that it won't work, that Hamas will not disarm, that this or that. I mean, this is where we stand now.
But tell me something, how can all this go well when there was so much blood in Gaza spent from the Palestinian side, and then we are watching those crimes, everyday crimes in the West Bank. West Bank is an open wound, and it doesn't seem to end this. The final expulsion of Palestinians it seems to be in underway. So how can all these things go well when we have on the one side the so-called genocide or ethnic cleansing, I don't know what, and on the other side we have the West Bank with what is going on with the settlers, which is a crime after another every day. And it seems that Israel is trying to annex West Bank, and maybe it will annex it or not.
No, it will not. It will not annex it. I think that this is a pledge that Trump gave to the Arab allies that annexation would not happen. And you are right. The problem is the West Bank, and the West Bank is not part of the 20-point plan.
No. Yes, you are right. Why West Bank was not in the 20-point principles from?
Well, because both parties, Israel and Americans, know very well that including the West Bank in the plan would have prevented the end of the war in Gaza. So that Gaza was a very critical issue for the Palestinians, for the international community, and for Israel. Now, bringing in the West Bank was the best way to torpedo the whole project, because the current coalition in Israel simply would not go along with it. So this is the elephant in the room. And if there is peace in Gaza and bloodshed continues, and the way the settlers are behaving in the West Bank, etc., continue, so maybe Gaza will also destabilize. Again, one can only hope that in the coming elections in Israel, a different kind of government will emerge that will allow some more moderate policies in the West Bank that would help stabilize both Gaza and the West Bank. But the idea of a two-state solution based on the 1967 borders, etc., I think it's a delusion. This won't happen.
So which is the honest alternative? And who is willing to say it openly?
What is the alternative?
To the two-state solution.
I can give you my alternative, but it's not the alternative of Trump.
Yes, please say it.
I think that since the Americans have created this envelope of Arab states that are friendly to the idea of peace with Israel and are friendly to the idea of a Palestinian solution of some sort, I think that we need to open our eyes and see other ways to solve the problem of the West Bank, and this is by bringing in Jordan. I think that we need to go back to the Jordanian option, and most of the West Bank needs to go back to some kind of Jordanian Palestinian state that Israel could live with, or the current government maybe not, but yes, a different government can live with a Jordanian Palestinian solution. Whoever thinks that you can create a Palestinian state in the borders of 1967 between Jordan and Israel at a stone throw from Tel Aviv is deluding himself. It's a cliche. It won't work, and therefore we need to.
This solution would be accepted by Jordan and by the Arabs. the one you propose?
Jordan will accept it only if it is the only way to secure the survival of the monarchy in Jordan, of the regime in Jordan, only if it is vital. Because if an Israeli government, for example, imagine that we get new elections now in Israel and we get a government center right, center left, such a government may think that the best way to save Israel from becoming a minority within Eretz Israel, within the land of Israel, the best way is to start disengaging from parts of the West Bank. That is, retreating, dismantling some of the settlements and retreating. This is what Ariel Sharon started doing when he was prime minister. He started withdrawing from the West Bank, not only from Gaza. This is, from the point of view of Jordan, this is an existential threat to Jordan. If Israel starts moving without a plan for the creation of a Palestinian state. And this will force Jordan. This will force Jordan to ask for a presence in the West Bank. For Jordan, an independent Palestinian state was never, and even if they tell you that today, that this is what they want, they are not sure that this is what they want. King Hussein, for example, was utterly opposed to the idea of a Palestinian state. He never wanted to hear about it. In 1996, in the elections between Shimon Peres and Netanyahu, King Hussein created a precedent by publicly declaring that he supports Netanyahu against Shimon Peres, because he knew that Shimon Peres may lead to the creation of an independent Palestinian state. So at some point, Jordan will have to go back to the idea, by the way, the idea of the Madrid Peace Conference. The Palestinians were represented in a Jordanian Palestinian delegation. So Oslo failed. Oslo was a Palestinian solution. It didn't work. And we need to go back to the idea of Madrid, which was an a Palestinian Jordanian solution.
So we're talking about the Palestinians. Without the Palestinians, there is no Palestinian in the Trump's Board of Peace. There is no, there were Palestinians, yes, technocrats who were not, but it was not, there was not before the background, the discussion with the Palestinians. So everything is happening for the Palestinians. Without the Palestinians, it's like an imperialistic, imposed plan. And this is a problem, and maybe, and will be, a key for the failure of all the plans Trump has. Don't you think that Palestinians should have participated more? Because the Palestinian principle, okay, it's just saying yes to anything that the West are saying.
I agree with you that this is a very serious problem. But it has to do also with the way the Palestinians have run their business for so many years. They had so many opportunities in the past to strike a deal. They could have done it in the year 2000. They could have done it with Ehud Olmert in the year 2008. And they turned down many peace proposals. And they are split. The people say, the Israelis and the Palestinians can't reach a settlement. And the Palestinians between themselves can reach a settlement? They have tried to reach an agreement between Hamas and PLO for the last 20 years without success. So they have defeated their own cause many times.
So,
And the situation is what it is. And now you have a right-wing government in Israel that would not accept a Palestinian state, and that we'll have to see, these kind of things. I don't see the master plan now that will be accepted by everybody. Israel will not accept the grand plan of a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza along the 1967 border. Forget it. It won't happen. Not with this government and not with the current opposition if it comes to power. It won't happen. So we'll have to move gradually. If Gaza is a tremendous success, if Gaza becomes the Singapore of the Middle East, well, maybe this will convince the Israelis that the Palestinians are capable of running their business without endangering the existence of the State of Israel. So far, they haven't proved that they can do it. So maybe it will work.
Yes. So you have a huge experience in politics in Israel. The scenario that the Hamas will be absorbed by the PLO and then will take over the PLO. Do you think
this is the dream that Hamas has?
It is a dream, but it's not possible to happen.
Well, it can happen. Why not? If PLO has its institutions, and if Hamas forms part of it, and Hamas is extremely popular, certainly more than Abbas, because of the war, because of the prisoners that they have released, because of its current international and regional standing. Mind you, Qatar and Turkey are friends of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, and they are very powerful in the system, in the regional system that Trump has created. So this can happen. And the PLO that has a Hamas majority may be good for the Palestinians in the sense that they will have a unified national Palestinian movement, but the positions with regard to the political solution will be much more radical than those of Fatah. Anyway, there are many things that are unknown at this stage. We don't know how they will develop, and I think it would be wrong to try and shift the debate to the West Bank right now. Focus on Gaza. Try to make it a success. If it is an Olympic success, maybe the Israelis will say, oh, the Palestinians can do it. You see, because if you were an Israeli that has lived in this country for the last 25 years, for example, and you, as an Israeli, you saw that Israel, when I was in the government, we withdrew from Lebanon. We left Lebanon. And what we got? We got Hezbollah. And then Sharon withdrew from Gaza. What we got? We got Hamas. So Israelis say, why would if we withdraw from the West Bank, we'll get Hamas in Tel Aviv. So it's up to the Palestinians to change the attitude of the Israelis by showing that state building is something that they can produce. They haven't proven that so far, I'm afraid.
So what would be a successful Gaza look like from Israel's
economic development, economic development, stability, no threat to the Jewish settlements or kibbutzim around Gaza. It's very simple. If it works, if it works, this is what Sharon believed would happen.
Okay.
You know, the president of the World Bank, when Sharon withdrew from Gaza, bought with his own money the greenhouses that the settlers have created in Gaza. He said, I will give it as a gift to the Palestinians. And what did Hamas do with it? They burned them. Said, we don't want anything that has to do with Israel. If this is the attitude, nothing will happen. And tomorrow will be like yesterday. That's it.
Now, what about what is going to happen with Iran? Will U.S. strike on Iran?
I have to leave at some point. I can't.
Yes, of course. So, what do you think that will happen with Iran? Will finally U.S. strike on Iran? Is being preparing that, and what will be the role of Israel? And will that mean the end of the regime, the Islamist regime in Iran?
See, with Donald Trump, it's extremely difficult to know. I think what he's trying right now to do is indeed to try and reach some kind of settlement on the nuclear issue, and perhaps on other, and the missile problem. He believes that he has the leverage of this enormous armada, which he has brought to the region. But again, he can decide also to attack. I think he is responsible, almost personally, for part of the mass slaughter that happened in Iran. When he said to the protesters, he said, "We are coming. You can continue protesting. We are coming." He didn't come, and people got killed. And then he found a pretext that some hundreds of people that were about to be executed were not executed. I don't know if this is true or not, but he certainly encouraged the protesters to go on the streets because we are coming, help is coming, and help didn't come. It's extremely difficult to read this guy. And we might find ourselves in a war. It's possible. Yes, indeed, it is possible.
So let's end with yes.
But the regime will not survive. This is not a regime that can survive.
So let's end with the Greenland thriller. Do you think that the Greenland thriller has ended? That
I think it has. I frankly think it has. I think that nobody knows what is exactly the agreement that he reached with Rutte, with the Secretary General of NATO. I think that the kind of agreement that he got, maybe with agreement of the Danish government, I don't know, is that the American military presence in Greenland would be increased. And the Americans will have some sort of rights on the areas where the American military deployment occurs, and maybe also some arrangements about the minerals. We forget that we are living now in the 19th century again. That the 19th century was the century in which the European powers struggled to reach natural resources in Africa and Asia. We thought that now in the digital age and in the age of green energy, we don't need any more the scramble for Africa and Asia. No, it turns out that yes, look what he did in Venezuela. He needed the oil and rare earth minerals. And Iran has many rare earth reserves, as much that he can put his hand on. And of course, imagine after controlling the oil of Venezuela, 80% of oil exports of Venezuela went to China, 80%. And 20%, the rest of it, some of it went to Cuba and others, but 80% went to China. Now it's Trump that controls it. Imagine that he controls the oil of Iran, which much of it, or most of it, goes to China. So I think that we are here now in a new era of imperialism based on the quest for minerals and natural resources.
And Europe will be in the middle.
Well, Israel is not an economy based on natural resources, although we have now gas, which is new for the Israelis. But this is an extraordinary economy. Israel is not an example to anybody. I think Israel is perhaps today the most successful economy in the West, in my view, in terms of economic growth, unemployment, inflation. Israeli high-tech is booming, and I'm very happy that we have this triangle with Cyprus and Greece, because we have so many common denominators in the Eastern Mediterranean. I think it is good for everybody.
That makes mad Turkey and Mr. Erdogan.
Yeah, well, Erdogan, but even Erdogan is not eternal. We'll see.
So, Mr. Ben-Άμι, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
For you. It was a very interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.